I understand you men were all part of General Jeb Stuart's own cavalry.
We reckon we still are.
I'll be brief. This war is over for me. Some Chattanooga swamp fever and this are on the ticket that's sending me to New Mexico. I don't mind saying that I'd be proud to have you with me as a unit, officers and men. Why don't you come along? The war's certainly over for you, that's a fact. And my offer is a way out of this stinking pest hole.
Out?
And the only way out.
Easy, Ash.
There'll be no further exchanges of prisoners of war. General Grant's order of August 19th is final.
Ain't we never gonna see home again?
Is your senior officer here?
Would he be out picking flowers?
Say, Colonel, the captain wants to pass the time of day with you.
Are any of the other outfits accepting this?
Technically, the offer is open to all prisoners of war, but in Indian country, what we need is cavalry.
Colonel Tucker of the 5th Georgia, sir.
Captain Bradford lay to the Pennsylvania first, Colonel. Clay Tucker, isn't it?
Yes.
This is rather unusual. I'm authorized to offer you a commission.
Tempting me, Captain.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm offering you a demotion to second lieutenant, if you will accept it.
When you say we Southerners won't be asked to fight against our own,
That's right.
you fail to mention how many Northern troopers we'll be relieving to do just that.
There are no troopers out west who can be relieved, Colonel. They're either greenhorns or casualties like me. Colonel Tucker, I hope you won't be offended if I remind you of an officer's duty to his men.
What duty is that?
To conserve their lives. You do it in battle. I can't imagine that you're happy just sitting here, useless to the South or anyone.
The colonel don't need no reminding of his duties. He's brung us through more tight
Right.
squeaks than...
I beg the colonel's pardon.
All right.
I lay down the deal plainly to all of you. It's no charity picnic you're invited to. It's a soldier's life at 40 cents a day. There'll be fighting, and there may be men killed. But a doctor for your sick, food for your bellies, reins in your hand, and a horse to ride. Take an hour, think it over.
Bullseye, Sarge.
Got to keep his hair parted.
Guard the Yank Army? Crawl on yellow bellies? Say you've been wrong about everything you've been fighting for, everything your women are starving for?
Well, I don't know, Si. I'm as good at Georgian as the next man, I reckon. But I'm hungry to eat some dust, and the man likes to ride.
We're just rotten here. If it ain't the fever, it's the dysentery. 10 more just last month.
Tell us what to do, Colonel.
No. No, I won't tell you what to do this time. Each man must make his own decision. There's just one thing. We've been through some tight squeaks, as Pickens said, and I'd hate to see us split up.
Why don't we stop chewing on each other and take a vote?
What about you, Colonel?
I'll go with the majority.
All right, all you Southerners, come on this side of the room.
Dust eaters,
Come on,
over here
fellas,
with
line
me.
up over here. Come on, all up Come on. Fine.
Hey, you squatting in the middle. Make up your
Stand
mind.
still so I can count you.
21 for leaving, Colonel.
And 21 for staying, sir.
Hey, wait up now. Ash Cooper ain't voted yet.
Hey, Ash, what do you say? Ash won't be voting, sir.
Now it's a dead tie.
Looks like you'll have to settle it, sir. I reckon you know how I feel about this, Si. I'd like to stick here till it all freezes over.
Well, that's it.
If it could possibly serve any good. I vote we go.
No. I don't believe it.
Say I want to live. Say I want to get back home someday and not in a pine box. Put it any way you like. We'd have clawed our way out. We'd have used our teeth.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
This way is harder, I'll admit. But even if we do have to put on Yankee uniforms, try to get us out of here.
Beg your pardon, Colonel Tucker, sir.
Lieutenant Tucker.
Yes, sir, Lieutenant. The boys want to know if they can sing in this army.
Oh, sing away.
Thank you, sir. Much obliged, Colonel.
I want you to know that I'll be happy to be riding with you and your men.
They'll be happy to be riding.
Kansas City isn't far off. They'll have all the riding they want after that.
Sing away, men.
Oh, I wish I was in a land of cotton. Old times there and not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born, early on frosty morn. Look away, look away, look away.
Just the thing for when we sashay into Fort Thorne.
Hooray! In Dixieland, I'll take my stand, live and die in Dixie. All away, all away, all away down south, Dixie. All away, all away, all away down south, Dixie.
Sergeant Major's with him, ma'am. Dispatches got through via Santa Fe, Mrs. Keniston, so naturally Major Keniston is
Oh, then
checking...
it'll be forever, and I've got news.
So Sheridan's reached Hatch's Run, eh?
Yes, sir. And General Hooker's at Darbytown Road.
General Hooker now.
So it reads here, sir.
Well, well. And where's General Sherman, Duffy?
General Sherman has resumed his advance south from Atlanta, sir. And where are we? Guarding the great American frontier, they calls it. With a bunch of one-eyed cripples. If you want my opinion of what they can do with the great American frontier...
When I want your opinion, Sergeant, I'll ask for it.
Henry, you'll just have to stop this now. The new troops are coming in, and I've ordered the lieutenant's glasses.
Lieutenant Adams.
The column of reinforcements is coming in, sir.
Did you permit Mrs. Keniston to accompany the patrol this morning?
Oh, Henry, it wasn't...
A woman with a detail of only 6 men away from the post?
Well, I told him I had your permission.
Well, Lieutenant,
Yes, sir.
you'll confine yourself to quarters pending further orders.
But truly...
That's all, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
It was all my doing. Why don't you confine me to quarters?
Elena, will you allow me to run this ragtag and bobtail army which the powers in Washington have done me the honor to let me command?
Shall I turn out the guard, sir?
You mean for our Johnny Rebs? Yes. Yes, by all means, Sergeant. I wish we had a band. We mustn't let these Southern gentlemen think us lacking in hospitality, must we?
Johnny, watch out for the horses.
Them's Yanks, right enough.
I'll say one thing, Sarge. A company like this, you're a rare and tearing beauty.
There's the commandant himself, Major Keniston.
front of the line! Front! Oh!
Halt! Prepare to dismount! Dismount! Form right!
Orderly, take the officers' mounts.
Captain Bradford and detachment reporting for duty.
My orders, sir.
At ease! You're now part of the 3rd Cavalry of the Army of the Republic. Circumstances have placed you under my command. You've seen fit to swear allegiance to these United States, thus gaining for yourselves a full pardon for recent offenses of treason against this government. Into your reasons for having volunteered into this service, it is not my intention to inquire. I understand you're good cavalrymen. I'll be most grateful if in the future you'll prove that that's so.
Have an every day, George.
Attention!
Mark, glad to see you.
Thank you, Henry. You'll be glad to see these others, too. This is my friend, Lieutenant Clay Tucker.
Lieutenant Tucker. Captain Stanley will show you to your quarters, gentlemen. You'll both do me the honor of taking supper with me tonight.
Is that an invitation or an order?
Like him or not, he's a first-rate soldier.
I'm Stanley, gentlemen. Welcome.
Tucker?
Well, figure it out for yourself, Captain Bradford. At any time, the Apaches could throw 1,000 braves against us. Fortunately, that's not the Apache way. They raid and run.
Es todo por ahora, María.
What's all this talk we hear that it's Confederate influence which stirs up the Indians, with promises that they'll have this land back when the South wins?
I understand you've had some rebel agents right around here.
Well, now, gentlemen, the war is a long way off. At least it seems so out here. Let's keep it that way,
Oh, I guess I owe you an apology.
But the lieutenant is on the right side now. Aren't you, Lieutenant Tucker?
I'm just here to fight Indians, ma'am.
Let us pray we're all on the side of right.
An excellent supper, Miss Keniston.
You're most kind. I suppose that after... Were you imprisoned a long time?
Any time in prison is a long time.
Perhaps you'd rather not talk about it. That's the way it is with Henry, Major Keniston. He was in prison, too.
And your husband has learned to value the smell of free air.
My husband.
What do you think of that, Henry? Tucker takes you for Elena's husband.
A natural mistake. She is Mrs. Keniston. She doesn't forget it. But she's not my wife.
I apologize, ma'am.
I've been sitting here. I'm afraid I've been rude. I've been counting our blessings, as Reverend Simpkins would say. The reinforcements for which I've pleaded are arrived. A happy occasion.
In honor of which, I'd like to propose a toast.
Amos, you've had enough.
Mrs. McGowan, there's no such thing as enough. To our gallant cavalry, which has always
Mr.
been the
Tucker.
backbone...
Yes, sir.
As Mrs. Keniston suggests, we have a lot in common.
You were in Libby prison, I suppose, sir?
A lot in common. Some minor differences. For example, our manner of gaining freedom. I didn't bargain for mine. I escaped.
You were lucky.
Lucky? There's my luck. I was taken in the very first battle in which I was engaged. I got that escaping from prison. Kept me out of action and sent me to this scabby post. Well, you at least had your chance to taste blood. Considerable blood, if I have your record straight. Were you with Jeb Stuart from the beginning? I'm an ambitious man, Lieutenant. And an ambitious man is very often a jealous one. So I'd like to hear something of your military exploits.
Yes, sir. I was with General Stuart right up to Yellow Tavern.
Were you at First Bull Run?
Yes, sir.
At Gaines Mill and Savage Station?
Yes, sir.
At Crampton's Gap and Fredericksburg?
Yes, sir.
And were you at Chancellorsville?
Yes, sir.
At Chancellorsville when Stewart made his charge against Brown's brigade.
My squadron had the honor to lead that charge, sir.
My brother, Elena's husband, was killed in that charge.
My brother was killed at First Manassas. My cousin at Vicksburg. Another Have I the Major's permission to see to the comfort of my men?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I deep your sympathy, man.
Captain Bradford, would you pour the wine? Mrs. Keniston's glass is empty.
That's it, Henry. Teach them respect for their betters.
What they let into the army's a caution, ain't it?
Yeah, I guess they figure they're better off in our army than running away from it.
Come on, give us a pull, Herb.
Payday, payday, come and get your pay.
One thing the rebels did, they brought us the pay wagon.
Attention!
At ease. Well, how you fixed?
It's homey, as you see, sir.
No, we'll make out all right. Good night, man.
No, ain't that touching. In their army, the lieutenant comes around to tuck them in bed at night.
You ain't hanging no reb in here. Why, you?
Attention! It is my clear understanding that you're all part of one command at this post. You will behave accordingly. Any repetition of such an incident will be properly dealt with.
That's lights out, man.
Lights out, soldiers.
Give me that bottle.
Oh, the little darling's just being picked on.
Oh, Tucker. You're from Georgia, ain't you?
Why?
The Georgians are famous for their tempers. Hang on to yours, Colonel. Hang on.
Good luck I caught you before you got inside.
Really, Brad?
Oh, of course. I've been very anxious to talk to you alone. I hadn't the faintest idea you were way out here with Henry.
Yes, I'm here.
I turned Washington upside down trying to find you. The Andersons told me you'd gone back to California.
Well, as you see, I'm only here.
Want to tell me about it?
If you'd like. I wrote to Henry soon after he was sent out here. I wrote to him for help. I told him I wanted to go back home.
That's a place called Monterey, isn't it?
Yes. I told him I could get this far with an Army supply train. He wrote back to come along, and as soon as possible, he'd send me on my way with the first escorted wagon train to California. Been here more than 6 months.
Really? But what's kept you here?
There's been no chance to get any further. It was all right at first, and I suppose it couldn't be helped. There've been no wagon trains getting through, no troops to be spared. One thing and another. Didn't he know he had no troops when he wrote me to come here?
I suppose he expected reinforcements months before we came.
I suppose he did.
Well, now that we're here, I expect you'll be on your way again.
Oh, yes.
I must admit I'm glad you haven't gone yet. You know, Elena, you've been a great deal in my thoughts, even when I didn't see you. They say that thoughts, like time, can't stand still.
But time can stand very still. Good night, Mark. It was nice of you to have thought of me.
You have to go in?
It's late. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
your Southwest night, is it?
Yes.
It's a beautiful dress.
I've worn black for more than a year, Henry.
I was merely giving you a compliment, my dear.
Thank you.
There had to come a time you'd want to get out of mourning. Richard loved music. Even as a boy, he loved it. I suppose you used to play for him sometimes in the evenings.
Why, yes. Sometimes I'd sing Spanish songs we both liked.
Oh, he must have enjoyed that. You must play for me sometime.
If you'd like. Good night.
Mighty windy country.
This ain't even a breeze.
Pretty hot.
Wait till summer.
Yeah?
It was last August when Corporal Donlin, rest his soul, got killed. He wasn't in Hades a week till his ghost showed up at our quartermaster's one night a howling and a yelling. You know what he was after? His blanket.
If you Yanks could fight like you could lie,
What did you think of her?
Who?
Well, if you can ask who, I don't have to ask. What do you think about, by the way?
About being a good little tin soldier.
You know, the first time I ever saw her, I fell head over heels. The first time I ever saw her, she was being married to another man.
Take a detail of 6 men down there. I'll send a wagon from the post.
Yes, sir.
Apache?
Maybe Apache, maybe Satank.
Satank?
Kiowa chief. Big medicine man. He's worse than Apache.
I better ride over and see if the major has any further orders. You stay with the men.
How about it, Colonel? Can we? It's what they hired us for.
Bugler, sound recall.
Have they got one, sir?
It's the same, you idiot. Sound recall.
there, fellers. Put 'em on the run.
Sound it again.
Hold!
Who did that to us?
You're forgetting we're in the Yankee Army now. Recall's their favorite tune.
I told you they could ride.
Up! Home!
Whoa!
Lieutenant Tucker, it is not my habit to address a reprimand to an officer in the presence of enlisted personnel. But in this instance, I consider it advisable to make an exception. I presume I'm to commend your dashing Southern spirit. Well, then I commend your spirit, but hardly your judgment. You'd have ridden in there all right, exactly as the Redskins wanted you to. Into a trap like ducks following a decoy. I venture to express the doubt that either you or any of your men would ever have ridden out again. Do I make my point sufficiently clear, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Forward, color right, ho! Follow me, round order.
Mr. Tucker,
Ma'am?
this is the first chance I've had to tell you that, well, that I'm very sorry for the embarrassment that you caused while you were a guest in our quarters.
That's generous of you, ma'am.
Not at all.
I'd understand that you don't hold me personally responsible for the killing off of your husband. I'm right relieved to hear that.
I'm talking to you, Mr. Tucker, because Fort Thorne is a very small post, and it seems unavoidable that you and I, well, all the people in it should...
She'll be placed in close contact, ma'am.
You choose to put it that way.
I understand. For the sake of the common good, you're willing to overlook the unhappy fact that I was born a Southerner?
Are you laughing at me, Lieutenant?
Oh, ma'am, no, ma'am. But it's on my mind it would be a sight more important if the Major shared your charitable sentiments. In your place, Miss Keniston, I'd be a little frightened of a brother-in-law who so plainly believed in sati.
In what?
Sati. It's an Indian word, Hindu, not Apache. Excuse me, ma'am.
Brad, are you any good at words?
The words?
There's a word I'd like to know the meaning of. Sati.
Sati. Well, it's not so much of a word, Elena, as it is a custom.
Hindu?
Yes. When a man dies, his widow is supposed to throw herself on his blazing funeral pyre and finish her life, too.
Oh.
It's a very drastic kind of mourning, I call it. Whatever made you think of that?
Dios que lo pague.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish.
Oh, nothing. Nothing important.
Group, hold! Prepare to dismount. Dismount. Forward, hail!
Congratulations on your knowledge of Hindu customs, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
But I'll have you know, I'm not committing sati, nor is anyone forcing me to.
Well, I'm sure everybody would be mighty glad to hear that. It certainly would be a sinful waste, Miss Keniston.
Captain Stanley, you'll take a morning patrol as far as Pewaukee Crossing. Keep on the alert for any signs of Indian migration.
Yes, sir.
Captain Bradford, you'll remain in headquarters. Prepare a full report on all field activities of the past 30 days. Yes? What's this, Duffy?
Concerning the two prisoners, sir, you asked.
Oh, yes, yes. Lieutenant Tucker.
Yes, sir.
In the guardhouse are two renegades, Edwards and Fairchild, convicted of running whiskey and guns to the Indians. Before you attend to the mount, send a detail to carry out the sentence of the court. They're to be executed and their bodies buried outside the post. Your Sergeant, what's his name, Pickens, you should be able to handle it. At once, Lieutenant. Yes. Things dragged on for months. Mr. Mr. Reynolds, your shoeing rosters haven't been received. See if they're turned in today.
Yes, sir.
This one's got a bad quarter crack here. Hey, Lieutenant Tucker, sir. The boys and me's got to see you. What about? We got to see you. Something wrong? Take a look at that barrel report, sir. Just look for yourself. We didn't know until it was too late. We didn't know.
We've taken their muck as long as we can. Now you gotta be with us or against us.
Keep it, Si, keep it. Go back to your quarters.
He won't be a minute.
Thank you.
Yes, sir?
Do you wish to see me, Lieutenant?
Take a look at that.
What about it?
Indian whiskey sellers and renegades. These men were agents of the Confederate government.
Spies? Yes, I suppose they were that, too. The one usually goes hand in hand with the other. Would you like to see the records of their trial?
I've seen enough.
Well, then what's the point, Lieutenant?
A detail of my men has been required to shoot to death 2 Confederate citizens. We came here on the representation we'd never have to do anything against the South.
That's right.
Never occurred to me. An order's an order.
The government made that promise, and I did.
I'm not sitting behind a roll-top desk in Washington. I'm running an army post. What's the use of talking about it now? Sentence of the court-martial's been carried out. The men are dead. Anything else?
No, nothing else. Nothing at all.
I'm very sorry you broke that agreement. I assume naturally, sir, that it was by accident, but just the same...
It proves what I've said about these rebels from the beginning.
Look here, Henry, you can't go on fighting the Civil War out here.
You can leave it open, Doc.
Those men took an oath of allegiance.
They took an oath to the South once, too.
Well, then put it this way. If you want a man to be a good soldier, you must treat him like one.
You take me for a fool, Mark. That man's a rebel to the core. He'll go over the hill first good chance he gets.
That's the only thing we can do. We get our gear together and our horses
Oh, y'all, an apology. I was wrong.
We've been a-talking and
Words of that oath we took back there are hollow as a bell. The Major just canceled the bargain.
You mean we're getting out of here, sir?
How does it feel to be wearing gray again?
Oh, now let's be reasonable, Henry. If these men weren't sincere, why, they had every opportunity to desert on the way over here from Kansas City. Nothing stood between them and freedom but me. Why didn't they go then?
Perhaps you're right.
Don't you agree, Elena? These men have every reason to have strong feelings. Give them a little time.
Don't ask Elena. Her mind is full only of how she can get to California.
Oh, hang it all, Henry. Give these men a chance.
All right, I'll give them a chance. I'll give them that chance just as soon as possible.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is what I like to see.
We don't mind it ourselves.
Hi, Early.
Sir, you have all the ammunition your requisition calls for.
Well, let him take it, Sergeant. If we don't use it, you'll get it back.
You'll get it back all right.
I wonder if I could ask you a favor.
At your service, ma'am.
I have my trunk all packed. I'll be traveling with the Simpkins, and I was wondering if a couple of your men, when they're free, could take it to their wagon for me.
You aren't going, Miss Keniston.
What do you mean? Of course I'm going. Everything's all arranged. I'm all ready.
Your name's not on my list. It was on it, but it was taken off.
That's preposterous. You've made a mistake.
Perhaps you'd better ask the Major. I only take orders. I must say we were disappointed. The men and I were looking forward to the pleasure of your company.
You understand, Reverend Simpkins, you'll be undertaking this journey solely on your own responsibility.
My good wife and I are fully prepared, Major. And we're very grateful for the hospitality.
That's all right. That's all.
Thank you.
Who's next, Sergeant?
Mr. Strong, sir. Mr. Strong?
So you're getting us off your hands, Major.
You're a merchant by occupation.
Right you are. You'll find my papers in order.
Well, just as a matter of curiosity, what are you doing in New Mexico? There must be more bustling fields of commerce.
Oh, just passing through, back and forth.
What's your destination?
Well, now, Major, you're downright suspicious of me. It's good. It's your duty. I think it's about time I came out in the open. I'm not what I seem. These are my credentials from the War Department. You're relieved some, huh?
Captain Bradford, will you excuse me?
Right, sir.
Wait outside, Ruffin.
Yes, I'm very glad
Glad about what?
that you changed your mind.
That I changed my mind.
Well, didn't you? I didn't ask the Major why. I just cheered.
If you were really my friend, you'd want to help me.
Then we understand each other perfectly, Major.
I want to see you.
I've been expecting. Sit down, my dear. Don't excite yourself.
I'm going with that wagon train, Henry.
A man will have to think you prefer the company of savage Indians to mine.
You said I could go on the first escorted train. I took that to be a promise.
I did promise, I suppose. But the risks and perils are too great. You're my ward, my responsibility. You're my dead brother's wife, and I owe a debt to him to see that his widow is returned safely to her family. I'd never forgive myself if I didn't. Surely you can understand that.
But if I'm quite willing to take the risk myself.
But you can't. I can't let you. I think of Richard, and I put myself in his place. I put myself in his place and think what he would want for you. He'd want you to be kept here with me for the present, where you could have my care and protection.
And if I don't want your care and protection?
You were happy when you first came here. You told me so. What's happened to the good feeling we used to have when I could watch you moving about our quarters, doing the small womanly tasks you might have done if Richard were alive? Which could make me imagine he still was.
Better tighten that lashing, Mr. Dibble.
Yes, sir.
All squared up, Reverend?
I'm sure we are, Captain.
Now watch out for Indians. They may be your brothers, as you say, but hang on to your scalp.
I'll do that, Captain.
In order. Go to your post.
Yes, sir.
Committed your orders to memory?
I have, sir. Everything checked and accounted for, sir.
Well, then there's nothing more to be said, is there, except safe journey.
Thank you, sir. Oh, Clay. Good luck.
Thanks, I may need it. Bye, Brad.
By twos, by the right flank. Oh!
That's all, gentlemen.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank me? For what?
For giving my Rebs this mission. For trusting them.
Oh, I do trust them. I trust them to vamoose right into Texas the minute they smell rebel ground.
What on earth are you thinking?
Well, I hope I'm thinking with the brain of a soldier. That seems to require a bit of explanation to you. All right, I don't mind giving you a lesson. You see, if I'm ever in a real pinch around here, I'd like to be sure that all of the enemy is in front of my guns, not some of it in my ranks. So if they're going to desert, let them desert now. At least I won't be any worse off than I was before they came here. Does that satisfy you?
No, it doesn't. Hang it, you've let civilians go with them.
Oh, don't worry about the civilians. They'll deliver them before they scoot. They're not necessarily savages, just because they're traitors. Besides, there's not a civilian in that train whom I didn't warn personally that he was going at his own risk.
Colonel, sir. I think you want to go back there.
What's the matter?
Mrs. Kinniston. In the Parsons wagon. Sergeant Pickens just found her.
Hold!
I was nervous we'd get into trouble.
Well, Miss Keniston.
You can't send me back. No, I won't go back.
Where do you think you're going?
May I have a word with you, sir?
Better have a pretty good one, Rapper.
This young woman has a family waiting for her in California. She appealed to my wife and me for help from a situation which I can assure you it was only after much prayer that we decided it was our Christian duty to help her.
Don't send her back, Lieutenant.
Who said anything about sending her back?
Well, I'm very grateful, Lieutenant. I've always heard that Southerners were gentlemen.
Have you, ma'am?
Among the Spanish people, it's a quality we value.
Did you hear that, gentlemen? Must be mighty jolty for you riding in that wagon, a horsewoman like you. Gentlemen!
Take my mount, Mrs. Keniston. I can double up with Hank there.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think.
But I'd consider it a privilege. It's been a spell since any of us have had a chance to serve a lady. I'd count it as an honor to my own sweetheart back home. She's a rare beauty like yourself, ma'am.
Well, put it that way.
That's very generous of you, Lieutenant.
No skin off my nose if she cares to ride along with us as far as we're going.
Well, I certainly hadn't expected anything like this.
You put us on our mettle, ma'am. Gentlemen, escort the lady to the front.
Thank you.
Here comes the Major, running like a turkey.
Who's the officer of the day?
Captain Bradford, sir.
Order out a detachment on the double. Elena's missing. Have my horse brought up, too.
Well, you'd never catch them, Henry. They're on forced march, and they've had 12-hour start.
Don't argue. Do as I say.
How many men will you want?
How many?
Well, a small detail will be taken by the Indians. If not, those rebs will put up a fight, if they're deserting, as you seem to think. Shall I order out the garrison and leave the post undefended?
Are you trying to make it look impossible?
It is impossible, isn't it?
What are you staring at?
I'm just taking a look at you, Henry. You might as well know that I knew she'd gone.
What are you saying?
That I saw her in the Simpkins wagon and I let her go.
Why, you...
I think she had every right.
Captain Bradford, you'll confine yourself to quarters until further notice.
if I ride along?
I'll give poor Mr. Lamb his horse.
Your outfit's making good ground, sir.
My orders were not to lose time. We'll rest through part of the day.
At Rock Springs?
You seem acquainted with this country.
I know Texas better. But I know this ground, too.
Hey, Sarge.
Yeah.
Hills over there. The St. Andrews Mountains, ain't they?
Yeah, and you know what's behind that? Texas. Stretching beyond the whole blooming homeland.
Well, we'll all be knowing soon enough. Beginning tomorrow. Tomorrow. Say, that sure does have a pretty sound.
I'm a good old rebel. And that's just what I am. And for this land of freedom, I do not give a hang. I hate their glorious banners and all their flags and fuss. Them lying, thieving Yankees, I hate them west and west. I fought with old Bob Lee for 3 years thereabouts. I wounded in 4 places and starved Point Lookout. I got the room.
Men get homesick sometimes.
I can understand that.
You've got a long way to go. What's it like out there?
In Monterey? Oh, it's only a small place. My family has a vineyard. Just a sleepy, peaceful place. You know, just family, mission church, quiet. The bells on Sundays.
Sounds to me as if you may as well become a nun. Well, I don't mean that irreligious. I mean, well, the way you strike me. A little girl left her peaceful home, bosom of a family, went out in the big, cruel world, got her fingers burned, and now wants to run and hide.
Lieutenant Tucker.
What it about comes to, doesn't it?
Do you always have to laugh at me?
There wouldn't be any point in my getting serious about you, would there?
No, there would not.
Obvious. North Pole and the South. What was your name before it was Keniston?
It was Elena Maria Gabriela Mercedes de Merida Nueva.
That's a pretty fancy name. I believe I like it better than Keniston. What is it, Si?
Some of the horses about done in, sir. Some of the men are, too.
Well, we'll camp by the river. Tell them it's the end of the trail. That'll perk them up, Morty.
It sure will, Colonel.
You should be asleep if you're starting out for California bust at dawn.
Mrs. Simpkins has a fever. I'm going after water.
Allow me.
I can take care of myself, Frank.
Now, Miss Elena Maria Gabriele, I forget the rest of it, ma'am. A lady should never tell a man she can take care of herself. He's apt to take her at her word.
You're not taking your men back to the post. It's in the air. Person can't miss it. I can tell by the way you're so happy.
Where do you think I'm taking the men?
What do you intend to do? Get back in the fight again?
Can't conceal I'd enjoy it, if it were possible.
You're as bad as the Major. Full of nothing but hate. Why do you men like to fight? For hatred? For killing?
No, ma'am. The war's most particular to me.
Why?
I've got a place near Atlanta.
Oh? Is it nice?
I don't know now. Sherman's got it.
Was it nice before?
I doubt if you'd like that country. It's real fierce land, red. Blood red when it rains. But a man gets fond of it.
Hey! Lieutenant, sir. These here fellas say they're looking for Mr. Ephraim Strong.
What do you want with Strong?
Lieutenant Tucker. Walk off a little piece here, Lieutenant.
Hadn't you better take somebody with you, sir?
Keep those men here.
These men are friends of mine, ranchers up from Mexico, but American.
That's fishy enough. Riding through Indian country by themselves.
They're Southerners.
All the way up from Mexico.
Your outfit came through, too. That's fishy in the same way.
What are you up to, Strong?
The same thing you are, Colonel Tucker. Only I'm going about it as part of a big plan, not just shooting off wild the way you are. What will it come to? You're running off to Texas.
For a short-legged man, you jump to long conclusions.
What would you do? Work your way back to Georgia and throw your handful of men in front of Sherman's army? I can show you a way that each of your men would count for 10, maybe more. I'm a Confederate agent, Tucker.
Is that what you say you are?
Oh, by the way, your mother and sister are all right. They're in Richmond.
What's on your mind?
Look here. Here's Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. We're going to link Confederate Texas with the Pacific Ocean. In California, there are tens of thousands of Southern sympathizers waiting to come across the border. We'll meet them with supplies. There'll be wagon trains meeting all along the line. We'll draw a defense line straight across the nation.
You mean what General Sibley had in mind 3 years ago?
Yes. It's got to come true. Our nation is dying, Colonel. I've been in the North. I've seen what they're killing us with. The shoe factories and gun factories.
You don't have to tell me what they've got in the North.
We're being suffocated by the Yankee blockade. But if we can get the gold fields in California and the seaports on the Pacific...
You said my men would count 10 to 1. What can they do?
First, go back to Fort Thorne.
Go back now?
You'll tip off everything if you desert now. Go on back. Be patient. Keep your eye on the fort. It's the only block between Texas and Tucson. Get the confidence of the major as I did. He's got me pegged as working for the War Department in Washington. He's got you pegged as a Reb who's on his way to desert.
He's a smart soldier.
Don't you see? You'll have him in your hand if you go back now. Wait till I get you the word, then meet one of our supply trains and join up. There's a big day coming if you work this carefully. Will your men follow you back?
When would the word come? They're impatient. They can practically see Texas from here.
I'm just as impatient as you are. Could be months. Could be next week. Will you do it?
Yes.
Colonel, there's a thing that bothers me, that girl coming along. The major sets a store by her. He'll never forgive you.
I didn't get her out.
I'm not talking about getting her out. I'm talking about taking her back. That is, if you think it's important, having the major trust you. In the morning, when you turn the wagons over to the unit from Fort Bowie,
Roll the wagons! Roll them!
I just want to thank you once again, Lieutenant.
Don't mention it. Sergeant Pickens?
I don't know exactly why I should wish you good fortune, but I do. Goodbye.
Sergeant, take Miss Keniston into custody. Yes. Put her on a horse. Tie her on if necessary. She's coming back with us.
Oh, no, let me go!
And in view of the wholesale desertion of these rebels, I again call to the attention of the Chief of Staff a lack of wisdom in freeing these traitors, only to place army posts like this in jeopardy. Paragraph.
Tucker will be back. I may be stubborn.
You're not only stubborn, Captain, you're also asinine.
They're 24 hours overdue.
I have continuously requested being relieved of this command Being assigned to a post where I could be of help in winning the War of the Rebellion. Yes? Can it wait, Duffy?
I beg your pardon, sir. Lieutenant Tucker is here.
The orders have been carried out, sir. Civilians delivered. Anything wrong, sir?
Let me have my moment of surprise.
Absolutely no incidents on the road, sir. We took it easy coming back. The mounts were fagged.
What have you done with Mrs. Keniston?
There's a strange story, sir. We'd been out about 6 hours when she was discovered.
I know she was in the Reverend Simpkins' wagon, Lieutenant.
Her name wasn't on my list, so,
If you've allowed Mrs. Keniston without my permission
no, sir. You'll find her in your quarters, sir. You brought her back. I hope I didn't do wrong.
Thank you.
Sorry to say, sir, it did take a little force.
He had you gone for the hills. Yeah, I guess we all did.
Elena! Why did you do this? Why did you disobey me? You knew the responsibility I felt for your safety. Am I to believe you had to be dragged back here? That you had so little regard for my feelings or for principle or for memories?
Are you completely blind to yourself, Henry?
Suppose you intend to explain what you mean.
Why do you lie to yourself? Don't you really know yourself? With all your worship of your brother and talk of obligation and putting yourself in his place, don't you know why you want me here?
You don't dare think a thing like that.
If you were open and honest, it would be less horrible. You make me feel unclean. I noticed the lock on my door is out of order. Will you kindly send one of your men to repair it?
Things are going on around this territory that are suspicious and mysterious. You keep bringing in these reports of wagon tracks. 3 times in the past week, wagon tracks. But nobody ever sees any wagons. Am I to assume that each and all of you have lost your eyesight? I submit as a simple assumption, gentlemen, that wagon tracks are made by wagons. Well, where are they? Where did they come from? Where are they going? And what in blazes are they doing around here? Now, I intend to get to the bottom of this. I want 2 large patrols out today. Captain Bradford.
Yes, sir.
I want your troop on this. I want you to take half of the men yourself and patrol in a semicircle to the south. 10 miles as far as Red Rocks.
Yes, sir.
I want the other half of the men out to the north under Lieutenant Reynolds.
Yes, sir.
Line 2, by the right flank. Oh!
Major Keniston, I've really got something for you, sir. The scout swears it's the tank's own son.
I have any ears. I know the beggar.
I tried questioning him, sir, but
What would the son of a chieftain have to say to a second lieutenant, Mr. Adams? Bring him inside. I'll deal with the rebel.
doing here? The Major's compliments, Lieutenant. He wants you back at the post right away.
He wants me?
Yeah, he thinks they brought in Tank's son. He wants you in to identify him.
Stanley's there?
You'd better get moving, hadn't you, Al?
Yeah, I guess I'd better.
Well, that breaks half of us free.
Darned if you ain't a mighty slick deceiver, Colonel.
Now, sir, that wasn't all lies. That part about Tank's son was true. At a gallop! Follow me!
It's Tank! Tank!
Satan, có anh nói là mau. Ở đây qua phòng thái chậm à.
Well?
Satan demands his son, Major.
He demands. The rebel demands.
In the interest of discretion, sir.
I said rebel, and I mean a rebel. Just as much as if the Confederate Army had given him a uniform to go with his paint and feathers. He demands. Well, tell him I'm not here to accept insults to the Army of the United States. Tell him I'll demand, and he'll accept. Tell him that before I...
Here. The Major changed his orders?
I reckon I changed his orders for him. That's right, Sergeant. Take
What
it.
the? Sorry, sir.
Sorry it had to be you, Brad.
Clay, what's this all about?
Now we'll go find those wagons the Major was so curious about. Pull! Sergeant, take Captain Bradford back now. You better have Lem with you. Take him to within sight of the fort and turn him loose. Give him his pistol then. Got to be able to get there and back by tonight.
Easy, Colonel.
Explain everything. Take a long time, Brad.
Oh, I wouldn't think of delaying you, Colonel.
Think you can find your way to our camp?
Ought to, sir. You give me a map. Then don't sit there. Sorry, sir. Do you mind, Captain?
Pickens and Lem, ain't it?
There's 3 of them. They're bringing him back.
The post is under siege, sir.
Is that tank?
Yes, sir. He's got it surrounded.
How many would you say?
I judge about 12 or 1,500. But they ain't attacked yet.
They never do at night. Better get out and get some food. Why don't you say what you're thinking? Say we've got to go back. Tell me they're American. Say there are women and children there. Tell me if the fort is wiped out, it'll be because a troop of Southern cavalry deserted its post.
As a matter of fact, Clay, I was thinking of your home, the South. Even though her battle is almost lost, I know how much you'd like to help her.
Sergeant. Wake the men.
Yes, sir. I doubt if many of them sleeping. All right, man, wake up. Colonel wants to talk to you. Gather around.
I've always taken it on my own to tell you what to do. I won't do that anymore. I owe it to you to tell you that I'm going back to the post. I'm not glad to be going. I don't even know if I'm right. Those of you who want to come along will come. I won't guarantee that you're doing right. I must warn you that many of us may be killed. The rest of you go on. No hard feelings. I hope that some of us may have good luck.
You're a crazy Southerner, Clay, but
Now I'll be grateful if you'll be quiet.
Pick up some excuse so we can go, can't you?
Well, we followed him this far. How are we going to stop now?
Jehoshaphat.
I guess the first thing to do is to try to get inside.
Well, as old Iron Pants Jeb Stewart used to say, the fastest way is the quickest.
What are we waiting for?
water buckets filled at all buildings possible. Enlist the women and children.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we split your troop in two. Take half to the front gate and stockade yourself.
As I was saying, sir, we were unavoidably cut off.
Lieutenant Tucker in charge of the south stockade.
Yes, sir.
They're coming from the rear, sir.
Well, if it ain't Johnny come lately. Plenty of time to get killed, ain't we?
Say something.
Yes, Mark. Dr. McGowan!
Sure picked the times. I fell in love with you at your wedding. Can't pick a time like this to tell you.
Just keep quiet, dear. I'll get the doctor.
Darling, they'll go away when the sun goes down. They'll go away.
That's about all I can think of for the present, gentlemen. Carry on your assignments. Patch up as best you can. In a way, I don't suppose it matters. I know what we're in for tomorrow. Keep it from the women if you can. That's all. Good night. Duffy.
Yes, sir.
Stay here with me, will you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lieutenant, may I give you a cup of coffee?
Thank you.
Some coffee.
Thank you.
Not bad.
Lieutenant, will you make that girl get some rest before she drops in her tracks?
How are you making out?
It's worth being wounded to have her tend to you.
I feel all right, really.
You heard the doctor. It's an order. Come on.
All right. Just for an hour or two, then.
I owe you a very great apology
Why?
for having dragged you back here. Of course, it's a fine time to tell you.
Don't say that.
What?
This is a fine time to tell you. Brad said that just before he died.
He was in love with you.
He said that, too. As for bringing me back, I expect in your place I'd have done the same thing.
It's very generous of you to say so.
This was on the arrow. Something written on it, sir.
Find that scout. He can read that mumbo-jumbo. You better get the other officers, too.
Yes, sir.
Pickens!
Is tomorrow to be the end of the world?
Major Kennison's compliments, sir. He wants you at once.
Get that sleep.
That's the long and short of it, Major. You killed his son, and in revenge, he demands the lives of the officers of the post. He says he'll spare the others if he gets the officers.
Officers?
You can't take the tank's word, sir.
What was your name again?
First Sergeant Roosevelt, Hamilton Pickens.
Have the main gate open for 5 minutes. I'll wait yourself. Thank you. This tank knows it. You think I'm an apple pound of flesh for one scrawny savage? The gate, Sergeant. Yes.
You can't do this, sir.
Duffy, if ever you're in command of a post like this, you'll find you do just as you please. A lesson from Lieutenant Tucker here. I'll hear him protesting.
Frank is here in speech. I haven't calculated you have it in.
History records a number of officers born north of the Mason-Dixon line, Lieutenant. Ironic twist of fate, my having to turn command of this post over to you.
You don't have to, sir. It's Lieutenant Reynolds and Adams.
See that you take good care of my post.
Yes, sir.
What's left of it.
keep your door locked any longer. You were right, of course. There's nothing I wouldn't have done to keep you with me. Violin.
Lieutenant Reynolds.
Yes, sir.
Get a detail. They'll bring in the Major's body.
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Reynolds, is there any news?
I wouldn't go out there, Mrs. Kennison.
Reporting to Major Kennison, sir.
Major Kennison's been killed in the line of duty. Lieutenant Tucker is temporarily in command.
Dispatches, sir.
You're not in very good shape here. Sergeant Duffy will make you as comfortable as possible.
Looks like you really had a bad one.
What's the news from outside, sir?
Shortly before Christmas Day, General Sherman completed his march to the sea. The city of Savannah, Georgia, has surrendered.
The war's about done, folks. The Confederacy is cut clean in half.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Oh, I wish I was in a land of cotton, old times there and not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. In Dixieland, where I was born, and early on the frosty morn. Look away, look away, look away.
Si of all people. I imagine he'd like to tell me that I brought him a long way to die for the Yankees.
I don't think he did that. I don't think that any of them died for the North or for the South.
Well, it doesn't matter to them now.
Was it true what the courier said, that the war will soon be over?
Yes.
Doesn't the end of war have to be a beginning? What will you do then? Go home?
To what?
Who's trying to run and hide now? I'm sorry. It was an unkind thing to say. I know how you must be feeling.
It's all right, man.
Look at them. Already they're starting to rebuild. One battle and there's so much to be done. You're the commandant of this post now. May I ask you a favor?
You certainly may.
When you've finished with all you have to do for the military, could you spare me a few workmen? My home's a shambles. Just look at it.
Guess I'll send you Sergeant Pickens.
Thank you.
He used to be a mason.
Mejores mañanas pasarán.
What does that mean?
That means it will all seem better tomorrow.